Hi there, welcome back to the channel. So, I'm finally getting around to doing my review of the Carl Martin Headroom reverb pedal. So I got it on Christmas, and I have been kind of just playing around with it since then and trying to get my Strat in tune, do the final setup, and I've found that I think it's the trim claw adjustment that was a little too tight, so I just kind of backed it off, got it in the middle, and I think it's finally playing in tune, so I'm finally going to be able to record with this guitar and all that. And so I'm excited about this reverb pedal. I don't use a lot of effects, never have. I've always been kind of like a plug straight into the amp kind of guy. And for the past like 12 years or so, maybe even longer, I've been using lower wattage amps. Like this is 22 watts, it's a Fender Deluxe without reverb built in. And this is a GDS 18 watt that I built. It was a kit amp, and it's a 18 watt head. And so this one I basically turn all the way up. And this one I run somewhere between 5 and 10. Like if I want like super, I'll start it today on 5. And another good volume I kind of leave it on is like around 7 or 8. You get like a nice breakup that's similar to this but cleaner and rounder sounding. You know, it's like that Fender tone, and this has this sort of sweet Marshall breakup. This is an EL84 for the output tube, for the output tubes, and it gives like a real sweet distortion, whereas this is 6v6, which gives a little rounder, like cleaner tone, like more headroom, more of that American tone. They're both fabulous, and I like them equally, just for different feels, you know. So I think the pedal will go with both of them, especially the Fender. I mainly bought it for this. Like this is kind of what I wanted it for, because when I bought the amp, I didn't even really know much about Fender amps. I was a Marshall guy, and so I didn't even realize it did have reverb built in, or that, you know, these amps had reverb in them and stuff like that. So all this time I've owned the amplifier since 2000. And all this time I wanted to get reverb, and I originally wanted to get a standalone unit, like the Fender tube unit. But the more I read about them, the more I realized, A, I haven't had any experience with reverb, so I don't even know if I care about it that much. B, they're expensive, and C, they can be noisy and buggy, and you can get them and spend as much time messing around with that as you do your amp itself, because it's an old circuit with needs to be recapped, blah, blah, blah. So I thought, well, how about a simple, quick digital reverb pedal? But the more I got into that, the more I wanted to start to experiment with springs. And so I wanted a reverb pedal that had springs. And I've talked about my journey of finding the right pedal. I did a couple of videos about that. And it came down to this one. This one seemed to fit the bill. Mainly because it was a real spring reverb pedal. It was obviously made with quality. All the sound samples I'd heard sound fantastic. Pete Thorne does one, and I could just tell it was like the right pedal. And then the guys on the That Pedal show did a review of it, and they were like really into it, and it sounded great on their video. So that kind of gave me more confidence. So I ordered it from Sam Ash, and I paid $179.99. I think originally these pedals were coming in at around $300 new MSRP. I think like $299, something like that. It could have been more, could have been a little more, could have been less, but I think it was around 300 bucks. So $179 was a pretty good price. I don't know how old this unit is. It could be as old as, like, I guess these came out like 5, 6, 7 years ago, something like that. So it could be older unit. The box has some age to it, but it's in perfect condition as far as, you know, it's still usable as packaging. And it came with all of the original packaging, which I thought was awesome. So I got this, you know, styrofoam bracing on the sides to keep it protected, which is important because it has real springs in it. You don't want those bonking around. So I'm going to take it out here real quick. And it comes with, it had a plastic covering, and it also came with the instructions. And the instructions are rather simple. It's just, you know, there's not much to it. It's an input and output. And then it has like some technical specs, not much, and it uses a 9-volt battery. So I've got a battery in it just because for simplicity's sake, and from what I read, it doesn't suck a lot of power, so the battery should last for a while, and it's just simple and clean. You know, I don't have to worry about plugging in. That's one of the reasons why I don't use pedals that much, is because all the all the cables and the plugs and the batteries and this and that, and one little thing goes wrong, messes up everything, you know. So I like to keep my connections simple, and I like to get a really good amp that I love the sound of and just like plug directly into it. That's my favorite thing to do. And I may change. I may use some fuzz pedals, like a fuzz pedal or a couple of distortion pedals or something like that, so that I'll have a rig that could be like my full rig that would be small. You know, it'd get me a full, like a big sound, but it would be in a smaller package. So like it shows where the stage is too small for this rig. I could use, you know, pedals with this one. So that's an idea. But today I'm going to just plug this directly in. So what I'll do is I've got a short cable here. This is northeast cable, and it's a connection cable, like a guitar an instrument cable. And I'm going to go output on the left here. So you've got the output on the far left, the input on the right. This is a remote bypass. I guess so you can hook it up to like a rack mount or something, you know, and control it from there. And then you have a remote select, which I really like that, because then I don't have to bonk on this nice pedal, because look how nice this thing looks. It's very, like, kind of looks like a hi-fi unit, you know, like something you'd buy for like a phono preamp or something like that, which appeals to me because I've been in that world as well. And then back here you have like a just a basic battery compartment, and I've got the 9-volt in there. It came with a Japanese non-alkaline battery, and I thought maybe there was some magic to that, like maybe not having alkaline, because, you know, the old school battery tone, like the dying battery sound. But it actually just does sound like a dying battery. When I put a fresh alkaline in, it just sounded way better. So I think you want full power with this thing. Okay, and then I really like the chicken head knobs, you know, like the Fender style knobs. Not this amp, but it has like the old school, I guess these are like, look like Vox knobs. But anyway, that looks cool. The whole thing looks good. And then right here, you have a safety guard, so that, you know, because it has 3 springs inside of this thing. And I'll show you a quick look at the inside of the unit. The inside of the unit, you've got 3 springs. And 3 springs typically means that it's going to be more of a controlled kind of reverb sound. I think that 3rd spring brings like some stability to the tone. When you have 2 long ones, you get more of the boing, the more Fender slapback, you know, wet tone with the extra, all that extra sound. You know, which you know what I'm talking about if you're heavy into reverb. And this one doesn't give so much of that. It gives less of that super big slapback. But what it does give is a very, very nice tone, like just a very wonderful sounding tone that doesn't manipulate your amp. If you're an amp purist, you know, like me a little bit, trying not to be like that, because I want to be open to whatever. But I have to be honest and say that I prefer the sound of an amp, you know, played pretty much directly in. And I don't feel like this is altering the signal that much at all. I mean, it's adding reverb, but it's not changing the input gain. I've got it where the volume is like the same, whether it's on or off. And what's great about it is it has the 2 channels that are identical. So if you want to have like a moderate setting on channel 1, you could have like a down the middle setting that's just your nice, give you a little bit of reverb, you know, like a hi-fi audiophile sort of tone. And then you could have another setting where you push the tone all the way up, you get your level all the way up, and you get some more of the crazy stuff going. Also, because it has springs, if you kind of jostle it or kick it with your foot or step on it hard, it makes that big kind of like blah 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 noise that everybody likes for a kind of a gnarly effect, you know. So that's the other thing, is it gives me like some dynamite effects. I like to have some like explosive type of things happening with my sound throughout the set, you know, because part of what I do musically is like, you know, make explosive noises with drums and guitars and bass guitar and, you know, yell and scream. So I like the idea of having a setting that's more extreme that I can make, you know, raucous noises with. So yeah, I think it's just really awesome. And then it has this little guard down here because it has real springs, as I've said 100 times already. And it has a sponge so that kind of, you push down on the springs, it protects them. they don't rattle and come loose and break, because it would be a pain to have to change them out. And apparently it's not always easy to find the replacement springs, because the companies discontinue the different ones, and so you got to find that exact harness and the right spring and blah blah blah. So this is a good way to protect it when you're not using it, or when you're going to travel with it. You have it down in this mode so that the springs, you know, the fragile springs don't break. So in order to use it, you've got to unscrew these kind of set screw things here, bring it up into position, and then screw it up here so that this, so the sponge doesn't touch the springs, you know, and stop it from reverberating or vibrating. Okay, so I'll just give you, I'll just play through some stuff and try to give you a good sample so that you'll have something to, you know, get a reference on whether it would work for you or not. I'm using just the camera microphone. I'm not going to be doing any effects at the end. There won't be any fancy stuff going on with the computer. It'll be strictly, I thought about recording it on the Zoom and taking it to the computer and just like making it a finished thing. But then I thought, well, you know, that makes people think that you've done something in post to make it sound better. And I would rather just like give you the real raw sound that you get right off the camera mic. It won't be like hi-fi or anything, or very usable, but it'll give you a quick, it'll give your ears a quick demonstration of what to expect from the pedal. So we'll go output here with the short northeast cable, like I said, and then I'll input here, which engages the pedal. I've got it on the more extreme setting here. I'm going to put that on the regular setting. Oh, sorry, that was the bypass. I'll put the reverb on the more moderate, kind of conservative setting that I have. Okay, so here we go. We've got the Toby Russell Fender Stratocaster build that I did. And oh, so you can hear it on. So let's take it off. And let's listen to the amp drive really quickly. Okay, so I've got the amp on, let's see, I've got volume on 5, treble on 5, bass on 4. That sounds good. And I kind of tested that before I turned on the camera just to make sure it was like a nice sounding tone. So I'll just go through the pickups and just play a few things without the reverb on, and then we'll switch it on and note the difference. Turn on the reverb. Okay, so this is the conservative, sort of moderate setting I have. It's everything is at noon, you know, at 12 o'clock. I've got the level at 12, and I've got the tone at 12. And the tone mainly just kind of gives you some. It's like a high pass. You know, you just get more, a little more high end. So let me gas the level on the tone. So that now the tone is all the way up. You can just hear the difference now. Nice. Okay, now I'll bring the level up to about the, I don't know, like the 2 o'clock position. Okay, so now I'm going to go to the middle pickup and just give you a flavor for that in this same original channel. We haven't switched it yet to the more extreme channel that I've got turned up. And remember, the two channels are exactly the same, so you can set one way and one the other. It's the same circuit, just you can get two different looks. So we'll go to the middle, 1, 2, 3. let's change let's do a switch over to the more, the turned up channel. I've got this all the way up. This is the most reverb that the pedal can provide. Okay, so let's go back to the other one so you can see how that's the extreme version of the reverb. I'm going to put it back in the middle and just play through a little riff bit and let you hear that. I'll put it in the middle pickup, turn all the way up, tone is all the way up on both. Okay, and then the other really cool thing that you can really do here that's I think is helpful and useful, this is probably what I'll do when using the pedal, is you can take like this little Fender switch here and come into the back of the pedal here on the, it says remote select, and I'm going to plug in there, and now I don't have to mess up my pretty pedal by stomping on it and all that. I don't have to mess up the nice facade or worry about kicking it or whatever. So if I wanted to put it inside of the amp, and if I had it preset, like let's say I had the one channel down the center here for like a more moderate kind of lush hot audiophile setting, there's one setting. And then if I wanted to have my super radical blah, you know, reverb explosion sound, you know, I'll just switch the kick the pedal. And this is much more usable for a live setting because you don't have to worry about messing anything up or kicking it or stomping it. And the size of this pedal, you'd have to get a pretty big pedal board to like mount it underneath. So I could picture this just going in, this would easily fit inside the back of this amp. I could picture me just putting this inside of the amp, you know, and then having the pedal out here, and then boom, you know, control it from there. So let's see how that works real quick. And then I'm going to plug it into the 18 watt and let you get a taste of that. Okay, so let's see what happens here. So that's in the more moderate reverb channel. That's the bigger channel. Okay, I'm going to turn this up to 7 because that's kind of my favorite volume. It's like sweet breakup, but it's not going to blow the speaker up, and it still gives you plenty of clean. So check this out. with the reverb. And I'll briefly turn it up all the way, just for giggles. Okay, so this is in the bridge pickup. Here we go. Reverb is on the moderate kind of 12 o'clock setting, the first channel. All the way to 10. Sounds fantastic. Okay, so now I'm going to put it in the 18 watt, just give you a little flavor of that. This is the American kind of sound. Now we'll do British. Alright, so now I'm going to do the more extreme channel. We'll see what that does, just to get more of more of a dramatic effect. Has a lot of after effect. Okay, I'm going to turn it all the way up. This is more like, you know, for a crazy effect, I think. Here it is with reverb. Sorry about that. Anyway, there's lots of beautiful possibilities. You can play your guitar like a normal human being and it'll sound very hi-fi and very wonderful, or you can go bonkers and blow everybody's heads off with all this, like, you know, sound. So I think it's a fantastic pedal, and I believe I've found my reverb solution. I'm really stoked about it. I'm really excited, and I highly recommend the pedal. If I don't, have any connection to the company, this was used. I'm pretty sure they're still making it, but it's fantastic. And I don't mess around with pedals a lot, and I'm pretty picky about it. They usually bother me, and I like the amp better. And in this case, I'm really excited and happy that I purchased it. So in closing, I think this is an excellent pedal. I don't use pedals that much, and I'm pretty picky about them, and they have to sound really good, or I wouldn't want to mess with it. And I really like it. I think it provides like a really kind of like audiophile quality hi-fi sound, if you want that. And then you can also push it and get some of that kind of like wacky Fender surfy tones, as you could tell. And I think it actually worked with the 18 watt. I wasn't sure if it was going to work with the 18 watt or not, because that's more of the British Marshall tone. And typically I think of heavy reverb being on like the Fender sound, not the Marshall tone. But I think it worked because the sound of the two amps is not that different. This just has a little more gain because of the tubes and the circuit, little differences in the circuit. Whereas this, like I said, is a little cleaner headroom. So I think this is probably the best application for reverb, but I really think it worked on the 18 watt as well. So I'm really high on this pedal. I don't have any connection to the company. Whenever I do a review, it's just because I'm going to use it and I'm excited about it, and I want to tell people about it in case they're wondering, because I know it's tough when you're looking for a product and you're wondering about it. It's not always easy to find demos that make sense for you. And I don't know if my demos are going to make sense for anybody, but at least I'm hoping that it give you an inkling if this is going to work for you or not. So anyway, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for watching these videos. And I'm going to do some videos next about some other pedals that I built, some BYOC clones that I did. One is a Dallas Arbiter fuzz face, the original Arbiter style circuit. And I think that one sounds really cool. I could step on that too for some more nasty stuff with this rig as like a smaller dynamite rig as opposed to the big one, like for house parties or smaller shows. There was a stage we played in Athens that had a really tiny stage. This would have been better to have just like one little combo amp as opposed to the 4x12 on that particular stage. So I'm going to do some reviews on those couple of pedals, and any other pedals that I come across. I get to mess around with Mark's pedal stash. He's got a bunch of pedals, so I'll keep doing reviews whenever I find ones that I think I might be able to use. I'll do a review on here and help spread the word. Anyway, thanks again.